This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Remote. Just to introduce ourselves for anybody who might be watching the recording of this later, I'm Scott Kavanaugh, the mayoral appointee and the chair of this committee.
Greg Rowland, City Council appointee.
Dan Riss, City Council appointee.
Tom Peak, City Council representative.
Jay Ryan, Conservation Commission.
I'm Ava Gerstel. I'm the CPA coordinator.
And who are you online?
Kira Henninger. I am the Parks and Recreation Commission representative.
Great. All right. First thing on the agenda is the minutes from our December meeting.
We approve.
Second.
All right. Because we have someone remotely, we got to do this by roll call. That's okay, Kira. We're still glad you're here. All right. What do we got? Scott Kavanaugh, that's me. I vote aye. Dan Rist.
Aye.
Kira Henninger.
Aye.
Tom Peak.
Aye.
Greg Rowland.
Aye.
Jay Ryan.
Aye.
All right. That's 6-0. Public speak. Doesn't look like anybody's here. City officials.
No updates that I won't do during open project updates.
Okay. You got that. Open project updates. Says first thing here, pickleball sign.
I followed up on it for you. Yes. So apparently we're between the temporary and the permanent section. So
The temporary couldn't stay up until the permanent got there? Okay.
apparently the temporary couldn't stay up through the winter. So it went down. And then the permanent one is on order. So it's coming.
Good to know. All right. I just happened to go by the pickleball courts and noticed there was no sign. And, we gave a significant amount of money to we shouldn't say we gave, the city gave, the Community Preservation Act gave, and we should, make sure that's recognized.
That's correct.
Can you make that a little larger?
Yep. The other open project update that I have a report for is from Valley CDC for their FY25 grant. And so this was in your folder earlier this week, but not when I sent it out to you. So we can just maybe take a minute and read it to ourselves. It has to do with hi, John.
Well,
it has to do with their 3 first-time home buyer mortgage subsidy grants, as well as the financial literacy and housing counseling they provided. So they just basically give a summary on what they did. And the sort of, overview is that they expend the money for the housing subsidies faster than they expected, but that they're the other pieces, the admin and counseling pieces, are on track.
And what does it mean, planned percentage?
Yeah, they plan to distribute, I think their plan was to distribute 1 housing subsidy in the first year because we funded them halfway through the year. And then they were going to do 2 this year. That's how they predicted the housing subsidies would go. But as I think they updated us on in a previous report, the market has changed just enough. $50,000 is just enough money that it made it viable for them to spend all 3 of them.
I think it's sad that someone who works with college needed a mortgage. So
That's where the market is right now, I guess, but, agreed.
I mean, they do pay well. I work there. They don't pay even, the kitchen staff, everybody pay pretty good, but not enough to buy a house, I guess.
Is everyone good for me to scroll?
Well, it's 80%, right? Isn't that the threshold?
80% AMI.
Median income, which is what, do we know?
A couple of years ago, it was like 65. Could have gone up a little bit.
We used to be lumped in with Springfield, and now we're not. So 80% AMI is now it's in the 80s for a single family. for a single household.
AMI is 80s or 80%?
I think 80% AMI is.
So AMI is
80% of 80?
AMI is over 100,000? That doesn't sound right.
Here, I'll check.
Did they switch from doing the metro area to the county or something?
There was some switch that happened with that. No, you're right, 67,000.
That's,
Still got it.
it's 67,000 of 80,000.
No, yeah, so 80% AMI is 67,000.
That's pretty high. If that's a single person, she's not making 67,000. Anyway.
Right.
It's a great program.
Yeah, somebody making $30 an hour. 60 grand. And a little bit more, right? Yeah.
And that's a pretty good fee, $30 an hour.
So they would
you can't buy a house.
qualify as.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just depressed about the market.
Yeah.
So they did one-on-one counseling with 13 households.
Someone's reading.
And so this, I mean, this is connected to the next thing on the agenda, right?
Yeah, shortly, yep.
All right. Any other questions on this?
Nope.
Thank you for putting that in there and giving us the opportunity to check it out. Anything else under, oh, you have account balances.
Yeah, we'll review those in a second. Open project updates, everything's the same. I didn't have the dog park because it just got added to the city council agenda just now. So Mary Ann suggested that I ask you, Tom, to schedule finance committee for between council meetings for the dog park design appropriation.
Okay, sure. So as soon as it comes to the agenda, I'll drop it. We usually meet every Wednesday between council meetings. So whenever it comes to the agenda, we'll be talking about it a week after that.
Perfect. So it's at next week's agenda.
Can you
So
make this a little larger?
So it's at next week's council agenda. So it'll be at finance committee, I believe on the 28th.
13 days from today.
Yeah, of the 28th.
Whatever the day
And
is.
then it'll be back at council on February 4th for its actual public hearing.
Okay.
And available balances. Is that good? Yeah. Great. So we're starting this quarter on the orange line. After the expenses, the appropriations at the beginning of the fiscal year. And then we have our two requests for our two applications for third quarter funding.
So 725 in the bank?
A million in the bank, but 725 if we were to approve the two things that are,
I'm talking about, what's
Yeah,
available
yeah.
to be, but appropriated if we wanted to.
but that hasn't been appropriated yet. The things in between the million and the 725.
Why we're getting interest from the $1 million.
All right.
All right. Questions? All right. New business. The first thing on the agenda is Valley CDC again. It says that there's a presentation here, but
I thought they were presenting tonight, but perhaps they had decided to move to the February meeting and just didn't tell me. I'm not sure.
all right. Well, I think we definitely need to hear from them,
Totally.
even though we do have their application was in the folder.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the balances again? Just want to ask about the Valley CDC total. No, not that one, the project, I'm sorry. Valley CDC, 471,000. Go back, you're too far to the right. They were given 431,000, that's over how much?
No, that's,
CPA funded 202.
They matched 269.
So that's how much money they're giving out, $471,000.
I don't recall what the breakdown of that 269, their match amount was. I imagine it has to do with staff time, soft costs.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was staff time.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. It really helps people out, but these programs seem quite expensive to administer.
I was just wondering how much they give out to each.
Oh yeah, they give $50,000 mortgage subsidies.
Oh my God, really?
Is it lump sum or do they spread it out over?
It's lump sum, so it's like off
Down
your
payment?
mortgage. And it's a 19-year. So if you sell your home within 19 years, you have to pay a portion of it back. I believe we reviewed it
Yeah, I
last
remember
time we did
that.
this.
I think it's like a down payment too. The bank will take it as a down payment.
Mhm. Yep, they will.
Okay, well, they're not here.
yeah, all right, well, I guess we bump that.
And what is the non-encumbered? Remind me what that means.
Yeah, so the encumbered means that, I can go back to that. The encumbered means that, I believe this is not, so yeah, our last one isn't, I haven't updated this. This last payment did go through, this last $50,000. That was the final mortgage subsidy that went through quite recently. So the remaining CPA funds then here, 93,264 minus 50,000 is their admin dollars that are, and that covers the financial literacy training and the one-on-one counseling they provide. And those are encumbered because they're under a contract with Valley CDC for the expenditure of that amount.
What triggers the encumbrance, if not a actual requisition for dollars or reimbursement?
A purchase order. So I opened a purchase order with Valley CDC for the full admin requested amount.
I don't know if people had time to review the application, but given the application, just since they're not here, are there any questions that we want to put on the table that they should be prepared to answer at the next meeting?
And I can certainly communicate that to them in the meantime.
Well, only if you could communicate that. I'd like to know if there's any changes in their subsidy program. Otherwise, if it's the same thing, it's a fantastic program. I mean, eligibility is still 80% of AMI.
I'll note that, I know you noted how expensive that these programs are to administer. This one, they're adding no admin.
Right, they're just adding more subsidies to the existing program, which to me is attractive because, they like, it's just like the administrative side's already been paid for, and we're just adding additional, like the part that actually benefits folks, people. I mean, not that they're not people, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that is attractive to me.
And the money that I saw up there at 93, that's what they're going to use for administrative costs.
No, so here, wait, we'll take a look at it again. I split it in. No, you're
Trying to
fine.
understand.
No, you're great. I split it. Is this what you were looking at?
No,
Oh, sorry, the other one. Yep. Okay. They have,
93,264. That can't be used for subsidies. That could only be used for
so
remaining CPA funds. I apologize.
it's minus 50,000. So my apologies. This isn't, that last mortgage subsidy went through quite recently. So I hadn't updated this yet. So it's
Something about
93,264 minus 50,000 is the remaining amount they have. Exactly. Yep. So they have 43,000.
and that will probably go to
The
administration. And, okay. All right, good. Thank you. Sorry.
Any other thoughts, questions on this?
Yeah, sure.
Hmm?
I just want to talk about this as a program, which I generally support, like affordable housing. I support people being able to afford, and this is like I can see this becoming a long-term annual request.
There's no end.
No end, right? I mean, so it sort of becomes an operational function of the city that's being managed through the CPA potentially. And
So,
And it has benefit and it has public benefit, and that's why we have supported it. I just want to raise the issue about, at some point, we may not be able to fund this. We may have other priorities that have a broader public impact that might not be one or two or three people, but might actually be, sort of publicly enjoyed by more members of the community. And so that we haven't really had a program like this that has potentially, Lathrop will probably keep coming for invasives or whatever, but I guess the concern is, isn't this really like a city government line item than a CPA fund? Like over the long term, I just wonder what the best model for funding something like this is, and whether we ought to manage expectations about the long-term funding of this in any way. I just wanted to raise that as an issue because it strikes me, we get projects and we fund projects.
They go away.
And
done.
yeah, the pickleball court, whatever it is, it's done. And it may, at some point in the future, it may need additional amounts, but for the most part, they're project-based. So anyhow, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there without any particular,
are these also,
question.
these mortgage subsidies going to city residents, Easthampton residents?
So they go to purchase homes in Easthampton. They don't have to be Easthampton residents at the time of application. And I'll just note that the applicant is here, Sarah Sargent.
Oh.
And my apologies, Sarah, Google Meet has stopped notifying me when somebody's in the waiting room. So
That's okay. I've been here
a
I was like, something's happening because I've been here for 15 minutes and she's not answering.
I'm so
Okay.
sorry about that.
It's fine.
So
I'm
that is-
here.
Glad you're here. Thank you for coming. We were talking about the project a little bit beforehand, but we'd love to just jump back and give you the opportunity to kind of present where things are at.
Yeah. So I know we sent our annual recap for our current contract that started late May of 25 and then through December of this year, we provided that recap for you. And then what I kind of want to also do is prior to that, between 22 and 24, there was a similar program that we were working with CPA and the city of Easthampton on. And it was for first-time home buyer and financial literacy education and helping people prepare to purchase homes. And there were subsidies at that time. During that time, the subsidies were $25,000, and we had a really hard time getting them out the door. So in our last request or our current contract with you all, we had requested the $50,000 and have 3. We went through all 3 in 6 months. I think there's a few factors that play into this. One, we had a bunch of people that were already like from the previous contract of education in the pipeline, ready to buy and kind of waiting and already prepared. Then our market shifted a little bit to this fall, which was beneficial. The subsidies went from 25 to 50. So the gap for people to purchase it helped fill it more than it was before. And then also 2 of the 3 that got subsidies this fall, we were actually able to leverage other funding so that they could get into homes that they could meet easily, but also do some maintenance and repair right away to help build some more equity for them pretty quickly. So 2 of them have had roof or tree maintenance done on their homes. So we leveraged another $15,000 for each of those as well through another program we were able to do. We did also change a little bit of Eva, what you're showing from this year's, total project cost. I'm also happy to share our current total funding in the contract. We asked for 201 last year. 3 households have gotten the funding, and we have about 36,000 left in education and counseling to provide to residents of Easthampton. And due to that, we are asking for a second project, essentially to offer subsidies that coincides with our current contract. The other is that one-on-one counseling for clients, we've done 13, and homebuyer education is 15 plus the 3 subsidies. So that's where we're at.
Great, thank you.
Do you have may I?
Yeah, please.
Sarah, do you have a wait list to get these subsidies?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's like a wait list because we know of people who want to purchase, but it's really about timing. This has to line up for people. There has to be the right house. They have to be potentially pre-approved. They have to know about the subsidy. They have to have attended a first-time homebuyer webinar already. So I think that's in part why some of these moved fairly quickly, was because we had already done a lot of upfront work with a handful of clients leading right up, and then something shifted, and then there also in the fall, we got a lot of requests about the subsidy in terms of, hey, I want to put in an offer, but I also want to know if I can get the subsidy. And many of those people didn't when they put in their offer, they weren't the accepted offer on those homes. So we also didn't move forward with trying to process subsidies with them. But it is on a first come, first served basis in terms of if their package gets fully in and they're eligible and they're in the right place. We don't hold a subsidy for anybody. So we're not approving anybody right now and then saying, well, when it happens, you get 50,000, because we don't know if and when they'll find the right home that'll fit all their parameters. We can tell somebody if they're eligible in terms of if they meet the income eligibility guidelines and if they've done all the other legwork,
But they do need to be, are they already approved when they are making an offer? They know that that's part of their offer?
Some are, yeah. I mean, yes, some of our clients are they've done all the steps that they need to. They are just waiting for a home. We are not holding the subsidy for them, but if they come to us and say, I made an offer and I'd like to move forward, my offer was accepted, I want to move forward with the subsidy, and we have one available, then yes, they will get it. But if somebody comes to us and is like, I made an offer over the weekend, do you have a subsidy available? It's yes, and how quickly can you get all this stuff together? And do the dates line up based off when they're, closing, et cetera, et cetera.
Doesn't seem logical that they would make an offer without knowing a subsidy is available. I mean, assuming that's part of their budget.
You would think. But some of them will do it based off of I'm going to make this offer, and then they can pull out if they don't get a subsidy.
Okay. Yeah, they got to get the house when they can.
Yeah.
Is there any incentive for them to get to closing then, so they know they get the dollars before somebody else gets to closing who might also be eligible?
I mean, if you have an accepted offer and you walk into our office and you meet all the requirements of the subsidy program and there's a subsidy available, your closing, you will get it. And closing doesn't make it happen that much faster. It's just about literally when you walk in the door and have all the check boxes checked and there's a subsidy still available.
So you'll set aside that 50,000 for them, even if there are hiccups during sort of inspections and things they need to do that drag it out for months and months and months. That 50,000 is just sitting on a shelf for them.
No, not for months and months. It's no, we know that closing, they have to have a signed purchase and sale. They have to have lots of different pieces to this so that we know that this transaction is happening. There are cases where something will end up, completely falling and somebody decides after an inspection, I am not interested in buying this house. Then they lose their subsidy until they potentially find another. And if another client comes in between that time that is ready to go, then the other client gets it. So we are not putting them on a shelf for people long-term.
Often on the city side, when we've reviewed these 3, because we receive all the documents, or I think all the documents you receive too, Sarah, come to the city, and then I do a thorough review to make sure they're all there before the subsidy, or the city pays the subsidy. And often it's most of the documents, all but 1 or 2 have come in, and then we're waiting on 1 or 2 documents. which will come in the following weeks.
Other questions, committee members? All right, is there anything else you want to let us know, Sarah?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I just thank you all for, reviewing this, and I understand it's kind of a unique situation right now with how quickly it moved this time around and versus the past. And I heard a little bit of the conversation before around, how is this a long-term ask? And, we're open to having further conversation about that and what it might look like for the city. And but we also would like to just make sure that we can we want to continue doing the education and counseling for the remainder of this current contract. And if there was a way to provide a few more subsidies to go in parallel with that we thought would be beneficial.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll be, this will come back up on the agenda in March for a vote. And so you then hopefully we'll be able to get you on right on the Google Meet. Sorry about that again.
That's okay.
Thanks so much.
They come back February if they want to.
Good. But we're not going to vote until March.
I'm only suggesting that because there's members missing, that they may have questions for this. I don't know.
They can ask at that point, though.
I mean, I think they could
There's
ask
always
in March.
members missing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like we've got 7 of us, right?
Oh, okay.
So.
You don't have to come back in this.
In February. We'd love to see you in March. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Nothing else on that before we move along. All right. Yeah, no.
I mean, I don't think so. I just was pointing out what the long-term model for funding. This demand isn't going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's we're not here to supply the full demand in any given year. So we have to kind of figure out like the trade-offs for projects that we have. And,
Yeah. It's easy when when we can say yes to ask, but they surely do.
Yeah, and I like the program. So I have no criticism
Yeah.
about the program existing. It's just sort of the funding model.
Yeah. And I mean, you're right in that unlike a lot of other things that we fund, it's not complete. It's never complete. So, yeah. I mean, it would be great if it would be. Everybody would have an affordable home.
I guess you could argue it's complete for that person in the same way that when we fund a building, like that building, like these are just a bunch of little micro projects for one person. I guess if you wanted to think about it that way, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I mean, like it's for that person, the project is that they receive the subsidy. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's correct. But we have a public interest and we're a public body with a public interest in mind. So the idea is that it's not taxpayers' dollars for one specific citizen in our community. It is for the broader good of affordable housing and making housing accessible to our community. So I like that it's we have multiple grants. I think if it was just like, oh, we have one person and they need money, that's sort of like, I don't know if that's a discretionary item for the mayor or for the churches in our community or whatever, but like having an actual program where people apply, they get counsel, training, it's like that makes it a little bit more of a public good, maybe. But.
Kira?
Yeah, that just prompted a question actually for Sarah. The counseling and the financial literacy classes, is there a cap on how many people can attend or participate in those?
No.
Okay.
I mean, as long as we have funding available for people to participate, we're fine.
So
some
part of the
people
grant or
meet
part
with
of the
us-
money, sorry, go ahead.
So part of the money, I mean, part of it is just the subsidy ask. And then the other piece is where we're trying to educate people on owning a home and then post-purchase and financial literacy, understanding how to do a household budget. So while some people that go through the program may never own a home, they are getting a benefit of, if they are a resident, understanding how to just have a household budget, or learning how to make a decision if a home is right for them or not. And we are finding for certain people that buying a home is not the best thing for them because of routine maintenance and repairs. If you can't save for that, in addition to maybe their mortgage payment is less than their rent, but if in addition to that, they can't save enough to put a new roof on in 15 years, or that water heater goes, or so we're also really trying to make sure that the people going into them can meet the other things of being a homeowner, not just, great, we put them in a home. That doesn't mean that it always is the best option for them. So we're helping people kind of broadly as well.
Thank you. I think that's helpful. Also to think about, because Greg, I see your point about the number of people that the CPA dollars are reaching is minimal if we're just thinking about it in terms of the number of subsidies to purchase a home. Those are much more limited than the number of people we're reaching, providing education around homeownership and helping walk them through that process. And I think I do think a longer term solution might not be with CPA coming back again and again, but especially for this grant application in front of us, I do think it makes sense because it's also tied to those people who are still attending the education courses from the initial grant. And I think there's that added benefit to reaching out and taking that course, because then you qualify for this as well. So I think to kind of close out the initial grant application, that will entice more people to attend those classes, or that's my takeaway. I would be more interested in learning more if I also knew there was a chance to get money towards purchasing a home, even if it's not given to everyone who attends it. It's there as a potential.
The other thing that this makes me think of is, because I think there's always this sort of tension between going wide and going deep, right, with what we do. And I remember thinking about this a lot when we had the meeting upstairs with pickleball, and I forget what else there was. It was I think it was an affordable housing or housing units. And someone stood up and sort of said, why should we fund this for 20 people when we could fund the pickleball that's going to benefit hundreds of people? And, and I think at that time, it wasn't really an either or thing. It just, they happened to be presenting on the same night. But I think, for the people that affects, the people that have that housing unit, that's going really deep. Right. And so for the, the ability to play pickleball in the park is great, and it's going wide, but it's not going as deep as far as having, a place to live. And so I think keeping that in mind for me, the way I reconcile that is just sort of keeping that in mind across all the projects that we do, and sort of thinking about the balance, sort of on the macro level.
You want to maximize the area.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But you know what I mean? But I think what you're saying is definitely, it's important to keep in mind, because it's something that I think we always will have to look at.
Yeah, I think Dan has always been particularly concerned about how CPA is perceived in the community. And I am always kind of with him and making sure that we are not opening ourselves up to a contingent that's very active in the community that doesn't believe in the CPA, honestly, and could point to and say, hey, these taxpayer dollars are going to benefit this one person or these two, whatever. And that, whether that's the reality, because there's the council, there's a lot of other things. And I believe in this. I wouldn't have voted on it before if I didn't believe it was a good thing. But I just believe that we need to be constantly thinking about that the broad and deep, and being able to kind of defend our thinking on that, especially when it's something that potentially is a demand that doesn't have a time cap, right? So
I think that's well said. Thank you.
I always defend affordable housing in one way, and that is to keep people from being homeless. And if we have affordable housing that benefits a few people, maybe there's a bunch of people living in this house. Eventually, they could be homeless if we don't have affordable housing capability.
I mean, these people are gonna be paying TPA tax dollars on account of receiving.
Yeah, that's your,
You know, so like it's and it's an
Anyway.
interesting way to think about that too. Now that they become homeowners, they get to, you know, they charge the excise tax and hopefully they feel good about that.
I looked at my tax bill and I can't believe how small the excise tax is compared to what I'm paying for property taxes. So I'm sorry, I can't.
Those schools, those teachers.
yeah. All right. Anything else? Anything else on this? All right, thank you. Let's move on to the library annex design. It says presentation likely in February, but do you want to update
Yeah.
anything about that?
Yeah, I'll give a couple updates on it. So the application is in your folder. You saw it. This is a design project for the library annex, which was donated by Easthampton Savings Bank.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
How is this qualified?
Right. Okay.
Historic preservation was the other library.
Right. So historic preservation is definitely the category they're applying under. So the historical commission is still making their determination as to whether or not this is locally historically significant.
True?
Yep, we're scheduled to go do some walking.
Yeah. So I'll note that just as John said,
Yeah,
the
we
historical
did too.
commission is touring the
I didn't do
building.
my homework. I apologize.
The historical commission is touring the building on January 27th at 2 p.m. I think that's a Tuesday. Committee members are welcome to come as well. If you'd like to see the building, I think it would be great to have a few members of the CPA there because we're not likely going to schedule another site visit unless there's a contingency of you who'd really like a visit. And if you all decide to fund this, special care should be paid to the historical features of the building because CPA is responsible for enforcing the Secretary of the Interior's historic standards for rehabilitation of historic buildings, which is kind of a big task that I'm not sure this committee's done in a little while because Old Town Hall's been kind of taken care of is the sense I get, right? Overseen by other bodies within the city, but CPA is explicitly tasked with enforcing the Secretary of the Interior's standards for historic rehabilitation. So I'm going to send out some materials on those before our next meeting, if that would be helpful to the committee.
I have to admit, I didn't study this because it said the presentation was in February.
Totally. So no need to,
So-
no need to. Yeah, for sure. But there's going to be a tour on January 27th at 2
I'll be
p.m. John will be there. I think Michael will be there. I'll be there. Yeah, most people will be working.
I have to say, the
I'd like to
reason,
be there. I'll maybe try to be there.
John, what's the sense of the historic commission? Because I just feel like this is a newer bank building and I don't know how it's historic compared to Easthampton Savings Bank.
I don't know that I would argue there's no leaning towards favorable or unfavorable on this.
We
It's
want to
really
hear from
neutral.
the people first. Yeah.
We want to hear, we want to look. I don't think anybody's leaning any direction.
It's 74 years old. Just a couple facts about it.
52.
74 years old.
All right, that sells. It's my birthday year.
And the one thing
You're historic? Is that what you're saying?
Can I apply?
Yeah, we'll preserve it.
the one thing I will
The Dan wrist, like grants.
the one thing I will note is that it's within the Main Street Historic District, and it's not specifically an out included, right? Like there's contributing and non-contributing buildings to the Main Street Historic District. It was not explicitly pulled out as a non-contributing building, which means then by de facto it's contributing. So I think regardless, technically, and I'm just going to say the technical here, and I didn't realize this when I initially reached out to the Historical Commission, or I had Chuck, the project applicant, reach out to the Historic Commission. I believe they still technically qualify because they are a contributing part of a national historic district. They technically qualify for CPA funding.
So does that Moriarty building?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of buildings.
It does because it was not
According
excluded.
to, I mean, based on what Ava's saying.
Hold
I mean,
Well, it's excluded though.
Right, but that doesn't at all.
Red dot.
Yeah, it has a red dot, right, which means that it was included. This is the section of Main Street. The red dot buildings are included in the historic district, or they're considered contributing.
So Galaxy. historic.
Easthampton Savings Bank.
But
So-
that only means eligible.
It just means
It
eligible,
only means
right?
eligible.
Which
That's
is
all.
why I instructed Chuck regardless to go to the historical commission, because I think what the historical commission's around it being locally significant to our town's history is a very relevant piece of information as we actually consider this
I
application.
would say we would lean heavily on the historic commission here.
Pressure.
I mean,
We're up for it.
ultimately, like, I'm not sure I would feel comfortable proceeding if the historic commission didn't.
You can't.
Well, no, I think you
Well,
can.
Well,
Abe
what
is
she's saying is
saying-
technically we could, but I would, I mean, I'm speaking for me, not for the committee, but I agree.
I would defer
Just
to the
because they're in the
commission.
historic commission, we could do it if the historic commission says no. I mean, historic district.
Because they were not explicitly excluded as a non-contributing factor building of the historic district. So when they did the historic district, whoever we were working with at the time had the opportunity, and whoever was involved in that process had the opportunity to say, that building's non-contributing, that building's non-contributing, that building's non-contributing. But I believe it's an opt-out process more than it is an opt-in. So they looked at the district and they said, that building's 10 years old, excluded. Versus saying, like, Big E's is excluded
I was
from
gonna say,
it.
but
And it
Biggie's
just so-
like the only one, right? What else is excluded on Main Street?
Just so people know, 50 years is the cutoff,
Okay.
which is not that long ago for a lot of our buildings.
50 years is the cutoff for, it has to be at least 50 years old.
Well, no, if it's under 50, then we default to it isn't automatically included.
Okay.
I know that was a lot of double negatives, but
So that's, yeah, so it sounds like we'll have some information from the historical commission by our next meeting. We'll have a presentation from the applicant. Any committee member who wants to come on January 27th at 2 p.m. should come. We'll meet at the annex, at the front of the annex. I'll send out some information about the Secretary of the Interior's standards for the treatment of historic properties. I did have a brief conversation with Stuart Saganar of the Community Preservation Coalition about this project. One thing he said, he suggested that I get on your guys' radar early, is that in order to ensure that a project like this would be in compliance with the Secretary of the Interior's standards, if this committee chose to fund it, we could require them to hire a preservation consultant, essentially. So require a consultant to be engaged in that process early on to ensure that their design process, the way they design it, is in compliance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. So there's nothing in their application about the Secretary of the Interior standards. I'm not sure it's fully on their radar that the Secretary of the Interior standards are like the requirement for historic preservation rehabilitation. So just that's a possible avenue if the committee chooses to fund this.
Any other thoughts, questions at this juncture on this?
I'll just say that the existing library building is a historic building. And there is a way to also consider, like, I only have this in my mind because they are taking down the temporary dining hall at Deerfield Academy where I work, because the dining hall itself proper, which was rehabilitated, is now back online and students are eating in the new dining hall. And all of the costs of the temporary structure are sort of seen as part of the bigger project of the dining hall. The annex is in some ways facilitating some new life for the historic building that is the library, which is not a reason that it would qualify necessarily, but it is just something to keep in mind, that there is a greater kind of project here related to the Easthampton libraries writ large.
Also note that the Easthampton Library the current building they're in does not have a preservation restriction on it currently, which does mean that they could choose, and I have no insider information about their plans on that, but they could sell it and the future owner of it could demolish it. I mean, there'd be a demo delay.
oh yeah,
A million years.
oh yeah.
But there is not a preservation restriction on it, and that could be
On the,
on the current library.
wasn't there, we didn't have to get, when we funded the,
Kind of remember this on council, that when they asked for that last money, we asked for a restriction.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
that not happen? Because we asked for it.
Didn't happen. We funded them $15,000 to make it happen. They didn't do it. We took the money back last year. Is how it happened. So there is no preservation
Right. We
restriction.
did discuss it and we did say to do it and it didn't happen. Okay.
Was that request tied to other dollars though? I mean, that $15,000 they gave back, but
It was just a request for $15,000 to hire a consultant to acquire the preservation restriction. But there could be, I'm just totally throwing out ideas here, but you could make a preservation restriction on the Emily Williston Library, the current building, be a requirement of this funding. You know, like you guys can do all sorts of things. You can condition things in all sorts of ways if you want to.
It's just,
Very sneaky.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me because I wouldn't want the historic commission to have a demolition delay that's 100 years long. I mean,
Yeah, there's no world in which we have any doubts that we want the building preserved. The question is, can we manifest a preservation?
What's the mechanism? So these are things to consider for our applicant next time. I think you guys can certainly ask him also what he's going to do with what they're planning on doing with the old building.
And do we know, and I think you're right. I mean, well, a lot of this is for the next meeting for the applicant, but like, do we know why it never moved forward, like the rationale for never moving forward? Was that intentional or was it just like, we're overwhelmed, we're not dealing with it? Or was it like, actually strategically, we don't want this?
I think there was some of both. I think they were hoping that JV was going to sort of help them along the process of that historic preservation restriction, and that didn't happen. But when I spoke with them, I know I spoke with them last February to request the funds back, but they were not moving forward with it.
Great work.
And they said that their board was split as to whether or not a preservation restriction made sense.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's all.
we'll find out more. All right, well, this is
they want to sell it.
discussion.
You wouldn't want to preserve it. You know, like I can see their angle on it, which is if they want maximum flexibility with what they do with the property and offloading it.
Well, and this is actually, I mean, when Greg was saying the thing about the Deerfield example, I think the difference here is that this isn't temporary. Like they're going to temporarily use this to make that one better, right? Like it's like, this is to really move a lot of operations over to this building for future. And so that feels very good. But seems like we're going to have a lot to talk about next month. Anything else? Library. All right. Preservation plan.
All right. Okay. So we've got the community housing and historic preservation draft goals put together by Derek, and then we refined them some of PVPC. So these are the two goals. Our goal for the goals was to have 2 goals for each category. That's nice and even for a survey was kind of our vision for that, which we'll review the survey afterwards. So the community housing first goal, support rental and home ownership opportunities for low and moderate income households. And then the 3 projects that I have, 3 projects in the last few years that supported that were very much in line with those goals. And then the second goal, expand affordable housing supply through adaptive reuse of existing buildings and previously developed vacant lots. So there I have the Ferry Street affordable housing development and the support of the Treehouse affordable housing capital improvements.
Which they haven't spent anything.
Yeah, it's in progress.
That was fiscal 23.
They're moving on it. We recently rewrote their grant contract. So maybe we'll talk about those 2 goals first before we move on to the historic preservation goals.
no problem with it.
Does it feel like it covers what this committee's goals are, or what you all perceive the city's goals are around affordable housing?
That rental assistance program is being vital. That was COVID time. Okay, I'll give you a star.
Just in case everybody thinks
That-
I'm against housing after our conversation before.
We never thought that.
That adaptive reuse of existing buildings was definitely in the last preservation plan.
Nope, I think this is great.
All good, all good. Are these the four different, like, historic preservation, what are these the categories for the Community Preservation Act? Like, is community housing the right term for it?
It is.
Not
In
affordable
the
housing.
act?
No, community housing, because it includes non-affordable senior housing. In the act.
So that they use that term, community housing.
Is that a change?
I don't think so. I can check.
And it's not that big a deal, but I
It'd be
don't,
good to match whatever the language is.
language in the, I always thought it was affordable housing. I mean, I believe you.
I talk about it as if it's affordable housing,
Yeah.
but as long as it's a match.
Although it's funny that it includes non-affordable senior housing. Make sure that housing is especially non-affordable.
Take note, Dan. 1952.
Oh, no. All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Let's go to the next one.
Yep, the historic preservation goals, and we can return, we've reviewed the open space and recreation goals at previous meetings. We can return to them if the committee members would like to. But the historic preservation goals, I feel like this first one could maybe use some wordsmithing, and I also think it's maybe the one that we should discuss if it's really in alignment with our goals as a committee. But it's inventory existing historic resources in the city, apply for National Register of Historic Places designation when appropriate, and promote the public awareness of historic resources.
My question on that is, apply for National Register Historic Places, but that requires a private entity like the library to ask for it.
Yeah.
We can't apply and place it on the library, right? We can't do that.
I mean, we could apply for it on one of our own buildings.
Oh, a city-owned building.
But these are the goals for what we're looking for projects to do, right? Project applications to do. So a privately owned building or a city-owned building, same process. 3 examples of that: the recently funded Parks Historic Designations Project. That's one where John is trying to get a National Historic Registration designation for the Brookside Cemetery, and the Stonehouse bathroom on the state register. The Main Street Historic Structures Inventory from FY20, that was the one that got the library annex deemed a historic building through the National Historic District designation. The FY21 Hampshire Hampton Canal Historic Survey. It's another example. Okay, the other historic preservation goal we have is support the restoration of historic buildings and properties. Of course, the big one there is the Old Town Hall restoration.
Have we done anything with that? Just kidding. Tom,
My only comment here is we were just looking at the language from the interior and there were 4 verbs there and restoration was one of them, but there were some other ones. Should we put those other ones and support the preservation? You were just showing it to us, the other one.
Yeah.
Would it make sense to include all 4 of those verbs as things that we're supporting?
Yeah, I was going to say too, I realize we're kind of missing, because like one of our projects is for markers. And in a way that's not represented. It's not the building itself. So I wonder if we shouldn't have something more like support the restoration and I don't know if promotion
Public
or
awareness of
public
historic
awareness,
resources.
education, something along that.
Promote the public awareness.
It could be in the second goal though, instead of the first goal. I mean, I think we should just like pause for a second and say, does this committee want to, is a true goal of this committee to inventory existing historic resources and apply for National Register of Historic Places designations when appropriate?
I defer to you.
Historic Commission.
Yes?
Yeah. I mean, that's,
Well,
You're
maybe
talking
I'm
about
missing
funding it
something.
through the Historic Commission?
Oh, no,
Here, Tom.
through the CPA.
would it perhaps be best to say support the inventorying? I know inventorying is a
I
bad.
don't think that's a word.
I don't know if it is. We'll find the word that means that then, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because we're not doing that, but we could support efforts from others to do that when,
Who's gonna inventory if it's not?
Well, that's what the CPA money went for when the Historic Commission made their last request. And that's how we ended up with the inventorying
Right, okay.
of all of our buildings and putting new things
That's what I meant.
with historic
But
designation.
the historic commission was doing it. You're still kind of support the,
We
you're
just
supporting.
support
it.
it.
Right,
Yeah.
I see your point.
I just remind you guys though, the verbs here, like we are also not expanding the affordable housing, right? The applicant is expanding the affordable housing
We're
supply.
looking for projects that do these things. Correct.
Exactly.
I'm personally fine. It's imperfect, like it's gonna be imperfect probably no matter what we do. I think it captures something, especially vis-a-vis projects that we have examples for. I guess my main suggestion is, I believe that second, support the restoration of historic buildings really is the primary. Like I would invert the order really, because when I think of historic preservation, I think of the work of preserving actual properties first. Versus then also promoting public awareness and other kinds of things is more auxiliary. So
It's implied that the first one there is the
More
primary.
important, right? Yeah.
yeah, so I would just invert the order because I feel like the important one for emphasis is that I feel much easier defending the wording in that first section if it really was sort of more the secondary of the two. That makes sense.
Any disagreement on that? Can we go back to the verbs? Because Tom had a suggestion about the verbs from the other document. Can we see that other document and just see what they might be?
You're referring to the Secretary of the Interior's verbs, or you're referring to the CPA verbs of like create, acquire, preserve, rehabilitate, restore?
Some of them were in both, but the document we just saw, I believe, was from the
Oh, yeah.
Secretary of the Interior.
Preserving, rehabilitating, restoring, and reconstructing historic buildings.
Right, and so would we want to just literally
Yeah.
copy and paste that? Because I
Yeah.
just feel like those are all things that we would entertain, right? If
Yeah,
somebody came to us with a project that did any of those, we'd probably at least hear them out.
I
agree.
How long is
Alright.
that document? Because I'd like you to
13
send it to me.
pages.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you guys. This is the slideshow version versus the actual act.
Okay.
It's only 13 slides.
All
I'm
right.
talking about the document, it's not War and Peace, is it?
No, this document right here, the Secretary of the Interior standards. Yeah, it's coming to you. It's only 13 slides. It's short.
Okay.
That's the whole thing. It's with pictures.
Oh.
It's got pictures.
I can also,
When you're born in 1952, you need pictures.
We're like Kira.
Yeah, I just wanted to give my opinion on the question Ava asked the group about, do we have any interest in applying for National Registry of Historic Places? And I believe there's grant money tied to that if you do get that designation. So that does seem like something that would be helpful to leverage state or federal dollars to support the restoration or preservation of those buildings in the future.
Good point. Thank you, Kira. One question that I had, and maybe it's less important given the added verbs here, but do we want to add any like qualities that we're looking for in the historic buildings, meaning like adding to the, or preserving the character of, I'm just thinking of like, oh, that building's 50 years old, but like that's not the one we're looking for. Do you know what I mean? Like, is there any do we want to put any clarity in here of sort of the type of historic buildings that we might be caring about more? And I'm not sure that we do, but I had that thought.
Can I have a question of John? Is the Interior Department, the state, anybody define historic buildings in any way that you guys rely on?
I was going to actually say that I think in a way the ambiguity works for us here.
Okay.
And what my understanding of what the best practices would be is that when something comes to the Historic Commission, if we promote a demo delay, then that's an indication that we're trying to preserve, right? If we don't, which has happened, especially in the case of, say, Williston, who made a proposal that even though we could have pulled like, that's a historic building, we felt, one, they've been a good collaborator with the town. the proposal they were making was something that fit in and seemed appropriate to the historical residences in the neighborhood. And the buildings themselves were beyond the necessity to rehab in order to preserve the quality of the neighborhood. So it was an advantage to not be restricted or forced to designate those as historic. I would keep that flexibility.
That makes sense. Thank you for that perspective.
Ambiguity gives us leeway.
The last verb on here is reconstruction as one of the Secretary of the Interiors. I don't think we actually can reconstruct under CPA.
Right, I'm not even sure.
Fine, leave that off.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I think we're
That's maintenance.
Yeah, or like rebuilding a historic structure, but
We need to increase our historic stock here in town.
New historic buildings.
Historic
New
buildings.
historic buildings.
you can't do that. You can't create. That's the CPA verb you can't use under CPA.
new,
Under historic.
unaffordable.
Oh, you know what though? I just suddenly remembered too, though, one of the things, do we want to consider? When we were doing this with the master plan, we realized that there are some things that are historic that we want to preserve that are not buildings.
Buildings and properties.
Well, we did a bunch
Property-
of files
There
for
you go,
Barbara.
properties. You got it.
Everything's
Yeah,
property.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
It's historic files.
I will just, I mean, right,
all property.
artifacts. You can do artifacts.
Yeah, but it's covered, I guess, in property. I was
We
thinking,
did cemetery.
Yeah.
Tombstones.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are
Yeah.
properties,
Yeah.
but they belong to some.
I guess it's like do we have any murals we want to
building.
preserve? Do we have any staff,
Again,
like,
it's imperfect, but we're not gonna be held to this.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think this communicates what we needed to communicate. We certainly could,
yeah, we don't, yeah.
always
we can't-
closer to fine maybe, but I'm fine with it. That's
Can't detail everything.
vessels are explicitly enumerated in the CPA Act?
Vessels?
Historic vessels.
We'll see what's out on the pod. Okay, anything else on this part? Should we go to Appendix A?
Yeah, let's go to Appendix A. Okay, so we have a couple specific like requests that like longer form details on their sections, on various community partners sections of Appendix A, right? We'll review Appendix A, which is now almost complete, which is the priority project list of various community partners. Some could still trickle in. They've passed their second deadline, so they should be set.
Right.
But we'll see. I know we're still waiting from the mayor's office. There might be more that trickle in. But a couple of our community partners sent like longer descriptions that I think it serves the committee to have the longer description in your mind. So we'll start with Old Town Hall.
The bond for 3.5 million.
And Burns is going to give an update at the February meeting, so that her request here to do an update on city spaces will happen at the February meeting. All right, from the skate park committee. Bigger?
Yeah, there you go.
Talking about the playground that's down there. Skate park.
Yeah, I think this is all in Millside Park.
Who's this coming?
Jeff Bag,
Skate parks.
skate park and adjacent.
Okay.
Does anyone need more time on this one?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
A lot of that wouldn't come from skate park. That would come from John Mason.
Yep.
Park.
Yep, which I think he mentions in here. These would all need the support of the Parks Commission.
Okay, I got
You and I might not be on. Yeah.
Let's put it all out there.
Yeah.
Shit, though.
Yeah.
Which is what we were looking for. This was what the library annex gave us.
Ultimately serve as the future location for complete library operation.
$7 million. Gotta raise the rate for CPA to 10%. I was joking. Anybody listening?
Thank you. Seriously.
On the record.
We cannot,
In the
we
Gazette
cannot raise it
tomorrow.
above
Yeah,
3%.
legally, we can't go above 3 ever. All right. But again, a lot of this wouldn't be eligible anyway, right?
You know, restoration, rehabilitation and restoration of historic properties, if the historic commission and the committee agrees, like, that this is a historic property, restoration and rehabilitation is actually pretty expansive. You have to identify the historic features of the property. You have to preserve those in the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines, standards. But you can do a lot of, like, you can build an elevator on Old Town Hall with CPA dollars.
Fire suppression is something that you could potentially do if the building is.
Potentially, but like, okay, this full demolition of safes, now that's a different question. Like, that's something we're going to be looking at. Are the safes historic features of the building?
That actually seems like probably the most historic significant thing in the building, probably.
Replacement of all windows, are the windows historic? There are specific expectations for parts of a building. Yeah, that might be considered.
Thinking of the safes in the Michelson.
Yeah.
We're talking about, like,
Yeah,
did a really
I
good job of that. It was really cool.
City Space got away with that. The funding for them was the historic parts of the building they would fund with CPA funds, and their matching money would fund the non-historic parts. And that might be how they're getting away with this. They're gonna probably come up with a match, so demolishing the safes would be their part of the project. I don't know.
If it's a CPA funded project, the whole thing needs to be in compliance with the Secretary of the, because we would be saying it's a historic project. It needs to be done in compliance with the Secretary of the Interior's historic standards. And if the commission doesn't feel confident that they'll be able to meet that, you could put a preservation restriction on the library annex. There's a lot of options for how you can ensure that it's done.
I think we'll get a lot of feedback soon.
Okay, and the other longer form, and then we'll actually turn to Appendix A, but this is from Valley CDC. And so, it's a good reminder. These are some really big numbers. You'll see there's big numbers on Appendix A. We did ask all of these project partners to go big, right? Think about the next 5 to 7 years. So.
Nobody else has replied, or
No, we haven't. No, they have. Those
They
are
have,
just the ones that have the longer form. So I think
oh, okay.
where we last left off, I know we reviewed these first few. I think we reviewed Pascomics, priority projects, fees committee, planning department. I think so. Probably we jumped in here at Valley CDC. Priority projects, this is just my summary of their paragraph, so we just read that. The community gardening committee. City space and skate park.
Pedestrian footbridge for Lower Mill Pond, Kestrel Land Trust. I think.
They're talking about that. There used to be a bridge down there.
Totally. It's interesting that it's a priority for them. I don't know how that connects to Kestrel.
Connecting communities to the outdoors is one of their main tenets.
Man, it's interesting, Manhattan Rail Trail expansion. So where? Well, that would be one place where the trail, I know that's been talked about and actually mapped in 20 years ago of rebuilding that bridge and then going up to the side of the cemetery.
That would be okay.
And connecting that, it would connect that whole neighborhood with direct bike path.
Connecting New City with it.
Yeah, which would be amazing. and I'm
all
not
over the
surprised to
master
see it up
plan.
here. I'm just surprised. that
I've
it's
been
under-
promoting this since 2000.
All over
And it's,
the
and
OA
the,
master
and I
plan.
mean, the gap is small. Like, it's not that, like, you actually look at the peninsula.
A lot of wetlands on that peninsula though.
Yeah.
That's a great
Build
idea.
over.
Span over
You
it,
gotta
so.
go over. All right. Okay, well, I have more questions about that, but
The Manhan Rail Trail Committee.
Pedestrian football.
Yeah, they both got it on there. Everybody wants it.
May have heard a little bit say that the mayor might be submitting a similar request, so it could
Oh,
be,
really?
well, and potentially for over there too.
over,
Across the narrowest part of Nantucket, of Nashwauk.
oh,
So
that-
connecting Nantucket Park to that neighborhood, the Water Street neighborhood.
Okay.
there is.
Because
Now, there wasn't one of those historically though, like there was on the local
No.
lot.
I don't think there was.
But for people in my precinct, it would help them get to school.
This is something that I don't have a paragraph from them, but there's been a lot of meetings about it and I want to make sure it's on the committee's radar. The town lodging house
Mhm.
is in early stages, is not yet owned by, it is still owned by the city, but there is a lot of interest from Farmer Veteran Coalition. Tom probably knows quite a bit about that because it's been talked about quite a bit at council. But they are looking to do a housing farming apprenticeship program for veterans at the town lodging house. So they're going to be submitting to the town's RFP to try to get rid of, to try to sell the town lodging house, which is, does everyone remember what the town lodging house
Mhm.
is? Yeah, it's triply preserved, triply restricted. It's got an agricultural preservation restriction on all of the acres of farmland. It's got affordable housing restriction that goes for another 9 years once folks are living in it again. And then it also has a historic preservation restriction on the entire building envelope.
So how could they sell it?
Because there's this group that wants to do.
If the town can find someone who's going to work in compliance with the
Compliance with all
restrictions.
the restrictions.
Yep.
Okay.
So they're looking at, quite a bit of work. It will require quite a bit of work. So these are the numbers that they provided the committee.
Mountain View Playground improvements, they just built the building.
Oh yeah, I actually might have, let me see, I might have a blurb from them. Let me make sure I share that with you.
I mean, they did it accessible too, didn't they?
They didn't? Yeah, no, it's accessible, but
Not as well as it should be.
it's not the accessibility. I think that's an issue. I think it just gets all
Okay.
changes.
It's, there's very few options for the like there's equipment there, but there's not much. And with the combining of all three schools, the number of students using the playground equipment at one time also limits how many students can use it during their short recess time. And there was a whole group of students from Mountain View Elementary last year that went to multiple school committee meetings and presented their list of reasons why that they wanted it. So I'm sure they'll come back for the proposal as well. But they had some good reasons for it.
How do they qualify even?
Recreation.
It's like parks and then a grant.
It is, yeah, schools are considered. It is, I think this committee should remember that at one point you did fund a recreation request for a
Naval,
school,
naval playground, accessible naval playground.
right?
Yeah,
But
and remember, they were gonna move that
Move
equipment
it.
over there, and then that never
But
happened.
you also funded work on the football fields that were then demolished.
Well, no, it's that, yeah. And then they moved, yeah, they said they were gonna move the lights.
So it's just important to remember that the recreational land, sort of schools are often the exception made to the idea that CPA dollars have to be spent on Article 97 recreational land. Because schools are not Article 97 recreational land. But then sometimes things can happen where the recreational land becomes non-recreational anymore in the case of schools. So.
Okay.
Just returning us to Appendix A. Hampton Public Library, and then the mayor's office. We're waiting on the mayor's office requests. but I know they're coming. I don't yet know of any other groups. Is there anyone? I'm not. They had a December deadline, then they had a January deadline, but I'm not opposed to reaching back out to any groups that you guys see are sorely missing from our appendix of priority projects.
You have the National Quantum.
Yep, they're on
Oh,
here.
yeah, that's comic. Okay.
Comics on here. National Wanacon Steering Committee, I know, wants to replace the fishing pier right over there. I'm looking for information about who's been married on that fishing pier. Because apparently there's been at least 3 marriages on that fishing pier.
On the pier right there,
Yeah.
I can tell you one person.
Were you married on it?
Yes.
Wow.
Hey, there you go.
Well, if the funding comes up, I think you're gonna have to.
Well, I had a big ceremony over there, but technically the land doesn't straddle the Massachusetts-Connecticut line, and no way am I getting married legally in Connecticut. So we got legally married here, and then we headed out and did the ceremony in the woods.
That's the one with the wood railing. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been
That's
closed
awesome.
now for a few years.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Anyone?
you.
Yep. Anyone else that you guys would like me to really try to wrangle into giving me their priority project list?
I mean, this is pretty extensive. I can't think of it.
Okay.
Survey and tabling events plan.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a survey that the QR code on these flyers links to, so that the flyer is in your folder, and everyone who's at the meeting should take a few and put them up in a couple places. We're really trying to get people to come to our preservation plan annual meeting. And we're trying to get people to fill out the survey. So the survey looks like this. I can do it in the view form. It's a lot of text at the top, but I'm assuming some people might scan it who've never heard of the CPA before. Happy to edit this as well. It's not like live. No one's done it yet. So
Should we specify property tax surcharge?
sure.
They know where that, I don't know, I just feel like they might know where that is connected.
I think also, if we're gonna talk about that tax surcharge, we should emphasize that it is the whole reason that we adopted it as a state match.
It's supposed to be 100%.
Yep.
I don't know. That's the law that it should be 30%, and they haven't matched 30%. So I guess the laws don't matter. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We do vote on applications and recommend them to the city council. We ourselves don't have a pool of money that we say to the city council, here, spend these funds on them.
You want to rework the committee
Where are
makes
you?
recommendations to the city council on the expenditure of those funds?
I don't know. It's the third sentence, I guess.
Oh, that's
fourth
weird. It
sentence,
doesn't.
like that.
What?
Hold on. It's not responsive. Hold on.
Which sentence, right?
It said like, the committee makes recommendations to city council on how to spend the dollars.
There it is.
Okay.
We make recommendations based on applicants and projects that we grant money to. Like, we ourselves are not like going, I just feel like it's not exactly describing the function of the committee.
So the
That
committee makes
we're
recommend-
not actually, like, we are not going to city council right now and saying, yeah.
So the committee makes recommendations to the city council on funding, on the expenditure, or on like which projects to fund or something like that.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but I think what Greg's trying to say is like, the committee essentially like, reviews and approves applications or, for
Yeah.
applicants to then. Cause like,
For final approval by the city council.
yeah. Right. Does that get to what you're talking about or no?
Yeah, yeah. The committee reviews and approves budget applications.
Which the city council is giving final.
Yeah. Final.
And you recall one project that was not funded. CPA recommended.
Northampton.
Yeah, you remember that, Northampton's, and that's gone.
I voted against it. I think it's the only time I voted against it.
I don't know, I don't remember that.
I didn't.
Council said no, so they have final approval. So- So we have two meetings in March, March 12th and March 19th.
We talked about it. Yeah, this looks great. Thank you, Eb.
Okay, so then, a nice image. Oh, this is my plug. This was my moment to plug, that if you have images of any of our CPA funded projects, particularly from the last 8 years, I would love if you could send them to me in the next month. So it'd be great because I'll go take a bunch of photos, but they're all going to be February photos. So it would be so nice if anyone
Yeah,
just
have,
had
like-
some photos in their camera roll of CPA funded projects. Okay. All right. So this survey will ask you to weigh in on 8 goals covering the 4 CPA funding areas: open space, recreation, historic preservation, and housing. And then it's how high of a priority should the CPA committee consider the following goal in funding recommendations. So the way that Derek and I formatted this, we're going to ask the questions twice. You're going to have an opportunity to rank each goal of the 8 goals. So not a priority at all, low priority, medium priority, high priority. And then, and I think I actually have to go through them and do them, and then you'll have an opportunity to basically pick your top 3 as your like favorite goal, your second favorite goal, your third favorite goal. And just to reiterate for all of you, the results of this survey are going to be included as an appendix in the preservation plan. I think it'll be interesting for us to look at, but we're not directly tying this to anything.
Is this digitally done so that
Yes.
it could be on the city's website?
Yes.
Please give us your opinion, whatever.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
something on the website.
Yep. Yeah. There'll be a link on the
A
website.
link on the website that they can do this particular survey for us.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just going to click through them really quickly so that we can see the next format. And then I'm also going to be tabling. So I'm going to have a physical version of this survey.
It's not a priority for recreation. I'm kidding.
Just clicking through them. Okay. All right. So now you are asked to select your top 3 goals that you hope the CPA committee funds projects in alignment with. And now you have to look at this kind of gross.
Menu and
Yep. So then you just pick your top 3. Thank you for your responses. Please attend the March 19th preservation plan meeting at 6:30.
Great.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I think you could shorten this. I think you could probably get most of what you want just from this second page. Just have people identify what their top 3 are of the categories. I think that alone, I'm just looking at time, and like if I were like somebody who just like was walking by and was doing a survey and you're like, we just want you to look at these 8 things and pick your top 3. That's like an easy, like, oh, I can do that in 60 seconds and be on my way. It feels a little long. I just know this because I get asked to do surveys all the time, and I'm like, how long is it? Like a page after page. So if it can be just like really short, but also get where we want to go, it might be, I don't know, it's balancing that length and benefit.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's just my 2 cents.
And the other thing is, does this have to be done by the 19th? Can't it be just continuing for us? Or do you want the results of the survey?
I
on
want to put the
19th?
results of the survey in the preservation plan and then be like, great, our preservation plan for FY26 is done. We'll revisit this in a year.
I agree with everything Greg is saying, and yet I also just having designed a bunch of surveys, like I agree that there's a length concern here, but at the same time, I am a little bit curious to see where, because I have a feeling that there's certain ones here that would get picked as the top 3 by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then there's ones that wouldn't get picked by the top 3 for a lot of people, but that everyone would agree are important. And I don't know, I guess the question is really, to what extent are we going to be like, how are we using these data? Because maybe it doesn't, but if we just say, hey, these are the top 3, it might be that there are things that are the top 3, but then there's other things that are not as flashy, but that are universally seen as important. And I guess I would be, but I don't know if everyone is going to be jumping into the data like that. So that's, I guess, my only thing. I don't know.
Sure.
Kira,
Could we have it where they just, all of them are listed and then they can rank them in order of priority?
Okay, so we thought about doing that, and Derek and I talked through that. And we thought that 8 is too many to do like an authentic ranking, 1 to 8. People like lose the thread in the middle. We also thought that having this 2-tiered approach, I am totally sensitive to the fact that this is becoming, it's like now like a 5-minute survey, which is like that's 5 minutes of people's time. But I think we were hoping to get at this idea that like these goals are not inherently in opposition of each other, which the second page would sort of suggest, right? Like, which are the 3 goals that you will actually hope us fund projects in alignment with? That's not how this committee functions. I know, you all know. You fund projects in alignment with all 8 of these goals. So it gets at the fact that, like, you know, do you agree with our goals, basically?
It serves a secondary purpose of being a little bit educational. If somebody's interacting with it, they're at that same time going, oh, hey, that's the thing CPA does.
My biggest concern is that you're not going to get a lot of people to take this survey. I would love to see on the website a big banner. Take the CPA survey. Who does the websites? IT department?
Yeah, I can get a banner.
Just try to get something up there so that we need your opinion.
Yep.
And because I'd like to see that, but I'm really worried, who's going to do this unless they go to the city website once in a while?
Well, you're gonna flyer for me.
Flyer.
Okay,
That's part
great.
of my concern though, in trying to shorten it, is like making it very like
Flyerable.
1 question, rank it, done, you know, and you might get more, especially under a short period of time. And then to Kira's point, you could always have like the one you would drop, right? You know, or whatever. You could always like have something fall off the bottom, you know, it's like your top 3 and your bottom 2 or whatever it is. But you know,
We'll talk that over with Derek.
I kind of feel like I want to know, I'm thinking about the data that we'll look at in the end. And I think I'm more interested in this first page where they're just saying what's a level of priority for all of the things. So it's like, you know, 75% of the people filled out the survey, you know, think that supporting the restoration of historic buildings is the highest priority, you know, whereas only 40% something else. Like, I think when we're looking across like the priorities of the community, you kind of get a sense of that second page anyway. So I feel like if we're going to shorten it, I like the data we get from the first page more than the second page.
And I think our thought with only doing the first page and not the second page is that you could get people who are just like high priority on all 8. And then it's like, we don't really get a ton of useful information, except that they like the CPA.
or, or they hate
I
the CPA
agree.
or
Let's
whatever
just
it
do
is,
the
yeah.
first page because I agree
well,
with
no,
Megan.
but she's saying that's
Yeah.
the problem with doing the first page. That if you just do the first page, you might not get actually the difference. Like, what are the ones that they actually like the most?
I know that's how I fill out surveys. It's like 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Right. And so you give 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5,
Talking
but
about
then we ask you to actually pick.
Like if I do like CPE credits or something like that, and they're like asking about, you know, how was the instructor? How was the content? How was the
Sure.
and it's like I do it every year, and I'm like,
I guess the one difference between that and this is that, like, I figure the people, when I've done surveys, like when we did the fiber thing, the people who are engaging with that stuff at the municipal level tend to be fairly engaged
Yeah.
citizens who want to have their specific feelings about things heard. I think for most other people, they probably won't take 5 minutes out of, or 1 minute. Like, I won't click a link unless I'm required to do so, or I really care about it. Those are the two cases.
So,
I'm
Go ahead, John.
saying, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, if it's encouraging, I would remind everyone, we had the record for the most response to our master plan poll, and that was 10 pages.
Yeah.
And how many people responded to that?
That was a lot. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we were we had the most responses of any of the towns at that time that had done it, and I think it was around 50%, which is extraordinarily good for a thing like
Because
that.
I want to make sure that this data represents a broad range of opinion, because if there's
Totally.
only 50 people that do this,
But
I kind of think 50 would be pretty good, honestly.
It would be pretty
I
good.
think, we're not trying to okay, one of the missions of the CPA committee is to study the needs and resources of the community. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here, is we're studying the needs and resources of the community and the desires of the community. But like, ultimately, this is as you all know about CPA, like it's kind of an opt-in program, at least in terms of like who puts projects together.
I think we'll get good participation if we can get it out there that we want your opinion. That's why I'm in here.
I'm also gonna. Oh,
Great. Did you overhear this?
I did. I mean, I liked Kira's sort of like end of the pipeline. We have the data, now what kind of question, because it is a good question. Like, is this actionable information for us? It's not. Then why are we doing it?
It's an appendix to the preservation plan. I think it's sort of informational for you all to know what are the goals of which of your goals that we're drafting. I mean, these are all fresh goals, right? Like, how does the community feel about our fresh goals that we've just come up with?
I think it's
inform our at all, do you think?
I think what would inform our decisions if, 5 things were highest priority and 2 things like across the board were lowest priority, I think that would inform what we do. I don't think that's going to happen. And therefore, I think if we ever get challenged on why are you like doing this and this, be like, well, actually we have some community support, community data that says like they support these things. So I think I would say, I don't think it's gonna, my guess, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong, is that the way this is gonna come back is not gonna actually change what we're doing, but it will we'd be able to defend that it didn't come back another way and say, nobody wants that.
Sure has it.
Kira, thanks, Dan.
Before we had this conversation about shortening the survey, I was actually wondering, do we want to add like an open-ended response of like, are there any ideas that you have that you would like to include in, future projects you'd be interested in seeing the CPA fund, like how we have kind of community partners sharing?
So I do encourage people in this top blurb, if you have a CPA eligible project you would like included, email your project title, brief description, and rough estimate of cost to me. I could include that as a part of the survey, like a long response question, like, do you have, but I guess I kind of don't want people to just like throw in random ideas that we're then gonna have to include. Like, I kind of like the idea of being like, here, now click on this link.
There's more accountability to it. Yeah,
exactly. Is it actually an allowable project? Because people have got a lot of ideas that are not allowable.
I'm sensitive to what you're saying as far as length, but I also don't think this is like overly
It's not that long. It's not that long.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
like,
think it's-
and I think what Tom said, like, if people care about this, they're gonna do it. I think you've given a lot of thought to this. I would recommend just, this is good.
My plan is also, so on the event.
Not in a,
No, I get it. Everything I say has to be taken with a grain of salt. Like, I'm just sort of like my quick reaction is like, if I were looking at this, I probably would be like,
He's
oh,
done too many surveys.
I've done
That's
too
the
many
problem.
surveys. I'm not your like.
well, you're also not committed to like things in the city, so that's.
I put my time.
He doesn't like housing, apparently. I don't know.
All right.
I'm gonna do this, so I'm gonna have a physical version of this survey at Winterfest, at one farmer's market, like indoor farmer's market, and one and at Art Walk, the March Art Walk. And so my plan for that is to have like basically a big magnetic trifold board and people are going to be able to physically take the survey, like with magnets, and then we'll capture the results. So it's going to be interactive and hopefully engage a variety of people that come through those events.
I know, Tom, you're a big Facebook user. Do we have, I'm sorry, I am too. Do we have a Facebook page, or should we just I'll advertise it on Easthampton group page?
I'll tell you what, I'll go onto all the socials with my counselor thing and just say, hey, everyone, I'm the council representative and you should do this. And that'll get
Whatever way we can get the data.
20 or so people to sign up.
Mass live.
All right.
You can
awesome.
you can ask the school to send it out as a parent square message to encourage parents to do it.
There you go. If they want their playground equipment, they gotta do this.
That's right.
All
Who
right.
do I, Kira, is that this, do I go through the superintendent? Do I go through?
Yeah,
Jean Libby would be the best
Jean Libby.
person.
Family coordinator.
I can send you her email.
And she's upstairs
Do
too.
you work for the schools, Kira?
No, I'm on the Mountain View School Council. I work for Leeds Elementary in Northampton, and I have 2 kids at Mountain View, so I'm very active in the schools, but I don't work
There's a
for.
lot about the schools. Thank you.
Any change, are we doing any changes to the survey?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
We have robust discussion, and that is what we do here. It's great.
Do you need a motion, or it's just,
I think you take everything that you've heard and you do whatever you want.
Okay, great. Well, come visit me if you're at Winterfest or one of the farmers markets or Art Walk, come visit me. Yeah.
you're
And
trying to get the
promote the survey.
survey out by February 1st, say, or when?
Yeah, so I need to make, so the survey obviously includes the goals that we just tweaked. So I need to make sure that the goals are as we just tweaked them. And then I'll send it out to you all, probably in a separate email with the
When does it
survey.
become public?
When I send it to you all. And I mean, it's technically live right now. So these QR codes go right to this survey. And then the other thing, there was a few of them on here, but there's a couple pamphlets that I made just spotlighting some Easthampton projects, CPA projects over the last 7 years. Those will be refined, like the borders will be dealt with. It'll be nice.
Awesome. On the survey, just I feel like best practice, one thing you could do is on the first page, make it random order. There's like a setting that you can mix up the order.
Yep.
And I feel like that is just a good practice. You with me? You're Tom's the expert on this, but I just feel like
that, but yes, I agree.
But like, I just feel like that, just for data capturing, it's good to
Right.
not have bias of the first thing. Yeah, this is awesome.
Super. They randomize it every time. There's-
Yeah. It randomizes, yeah. So like, cause that,
Different users have a different order?
correct.
So I just picked 4 projects that I feel like showcase what we do and that are recent projects. I'll have nicer, like glossy copies of these at your February meeting, so then you can disperse them. It's all in the mission of getting people to our March 19th preservation plan meeting.
I think you picked really good projects.
I've been on this committee a long time. I've only gotten one of those, because we haven't had many. Thank God you're here.
There you go.
We may have one every year now.
Well, next year we have to have it because it will be our 25th birthday of CPA in Easthampton, so we're gonna have a cake.
Fantastic.
Sweet. Would and you recommend the cakes that come?
Yes, I.
Okay, good. That's
Jay's gonna come out
Makes
of it.
Good, yeah.
all right. Happy birthday, CPA. All right, I think we've got everything on the agenda.
Digress.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, let's go through the list. Oh, wait, I got it right here. No. But I just like having the names all so I can do the order. There we go. Scott Kavanaugh, I say aye. Dan Riss.
Aye.
John Bruner.
Aye.
Kira Henninger.
Aye.
Doug
Aye.
Heath.
Aye.
Roland. Aye. Jay Ryan.
Aye.
Fabulous.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.